another Mother Fiction Writers podcast. I'm Stevie. Again, Stacy isn't here all month of June, but I have Amanda here and she's with me and I'm so excited. We got to be friends over Bookstagram. NaNo brought us together. We're probably going to talk a little bit about that. But I'm going to let her kind of introduce herself right now.
I don't know why I didn't have an introduction prepared, but yes, hi, I'm Amanda Sims. I have a bachelor's in communications and a creative writing minor. I've told stories pretty much all my life, and I joined Bookstagram fairly recently. It was kind of a breakup situation, actually, that I was like, I need a community, and decided to join Bookstagram. I think you were genuinely one of my very first friends that I had met on there. I think I was still struggling to kind of break into the community. And when I did NaNo, I think you found me and you were like, hi, we're
I was like, we're going to be friends. Which you're doing NaNo, I'm doing NaNo. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, side note, that's actually how I make friends in real life too. Like, I'm the introvert that the extroverts just adopt, and then I'm theirs. So
yeah, and I'm a very in between. I have very introvert tendencies as an adult. I was very extroverted growing up and stuff. So I have that kind of characteristics, but I'm very much introverted as an adult, kind of more homebody than I ever used to be. Want to just read a book, write my stories. Yeah. But I do love making friends, and I'm so glad that I haven't lost that, because otherwise we wouldn't be friends. And
exactly,
you have helped me, and so she's one of those. Besides Stacy, that's why we're gonna have to have you on again when Stacy's here. Besides Stacy, you two were the first two that I really opened up and was like, can you read this? Will you read this for me? How does this sound? So I appreciate you for that.
Yeah. Of course. I realized I kind of kneecapped my introduction there.
I probably just jumped it. Sorry.
No, it was I derailed myself with Bookstagram. I got distracted, but I am a writer and an avid reader. I typically indulge in a lot of romantasy, and right now I'm kind of in my romance phase, but that's a lot of due to what I'm currently writing. And I have 3 works in progress right now. A used to be YA sci-fi that is now an NA sci-fi. That
I love that.
I'm about to start querying, called Library of Souls. I have a second one that was my NaNoWriMo project that I'm about to start doing a developmental edit for. That's an NA romantasy with some spice in there, and then a third project which is just kind of more for fun on the side. But
yeah, but that's really taken off too. That's your fanfic. Do you want to? Maybe I'll jump in with asking you. So, what made you want to start writing? I've never had anyone talk about fanfic before, and that is a huge thing. I think it's really. I think it's a good way to almost hone your writing skills, better in a way, and have fun with it, and maybe try some new things. So why did you start writing?
It's kind of interesting. Why I started writing the fanfic has almost nothing to do with the fandom itself. It kind of just, how do I even say this? I was having a pretty hard, personal challenging time come December, January, and I had just wrapped up A Bound and Bleeding Heart. And I'm one of those people that if I'm not consistently having an output of my creativity, the creative energy will find a way to get into my life. And so I was having really vivid nightmares and kind of bad symptoms around the things going on in my life. And I really just needed an outlet. And I had just, I do a lot of binge watching while I'm, working, or while I'm gardening, while I'm doing different things. And I had just binge watched Teen Wolf, and happened to find on TikTok that someone was mentioning that, oh, wow, these 2 boys, Theo and Liam, from Theo only comes into it in season 4. Season 5. And he's kind of the villain, and he has a redemption arc, probably one of the best ones in the whole show, in season 6. And the only one who he really opens up to and trusts is Liam. And I saw someone do a fanfic compilation edit of the 2 of them together. And
was there not a couple in the show then? See, I've never watched the show.
No, they're not a couple. They have a lot of moments, and apparently even the director and like the head writer of the show kind of was like, "Oh, we could have made them a couple," and all of us are
Okay.
like screaming in the background,
Like
like
you should have
you're in
made them a
charge.
couple.
Yeah, like you could have
You
made that
missed
happen.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it felt like such a missed opportunity that like they set us up for it, that they didn't actually give it to us. And
Yeah.
I got kind of mad and was like, I'm going to fix this. And I started by
Right.
rewriting episodes. Where like they had a lot of time together but nothing actually happened, so I started rewriting them so that I put them in a couple situation, and I started building the tension, and I
Was it kind of like
played.
a secret romance that built into more, or was it just you shipped them right away? You just like threw them in there, kind of a thing.
I threw them in kind of right away, and I intentionally knew that Theo was going to be like kind of already obsessed with Liam, and Liam was going to be kind of in denial about it and like not sure why he
Okay.
felt drawn to him, and things like that. And it just getting in each other in their heads is really fun because Liam has an intermittent explosive disorder, so he struggles with anxiety and anger, and
Gotcha.
he's also a werewolf, which makes things complicated. And then there's
Yeah, because
Theo,
they
who
can
kind of,
talk through their minds, right? Like through a
yeah,
connection, which is really
I
cool.
created that. That was
Okay. I
something
wasn't sure if that was a
I
show thing. I like that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it started because I there's not a lot of like full transformation in the show where they go from like full human to full wolf.
Okay.
But in I really wanted that to be part of the thing, and that's something that one of them can do is Theo in the show. And so I was like, well, what if when they're a couple he teaches Liam how to do that as like an extension of like
Oh,
control your wolf, control your anger, go into full wolf.
right.
And it occurred to me, like I think it was something that was just on a whim or very early on, that I needed them to be able to talk when they were wolves.
The
And I was like,
pantser in you was like, let's just throw this in here.
yeah. And so, definitely on the train of thought of like, writing for other projects and for larger things that are more for, my professional gain. That's something I learned from this, is to just trust your instinct. And if you feel like you want
Right.
to put it in, put it in.
Well, that's why I
And
was right. I feel like I've heard that from other people. And even like, so I've never written fanfic, but I have like seen some stuff, and like there's a few that I have followed, like mostly like House of Dragons, Game of Thrones kind of stuff. I've
yeah,
read into those. And a lot of them will sit there and like in the comments, they will say how much it really has expanded. They just had this idea and it was fun to them and it expanded. It was like nothing they've ever written before, but
yes,
now they are like, I can do that. I could do this in my own stories, kind of a thing. So
yeah.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. It's been such a fascinating process because for a lot of it, I just kind of let them do their own thing, and it just kind of comes. It's just been so. It's honestly been kind of like humbling, and I'm almost honored to be able to tell their story. Is kind of how I
well,
feel about
and
it. Like,
where, right. And where can people find this?
oh, yes, of course. They can find this on AO3 and Wattpad. My same username is
Okay.
Instagram, and it's called What Could Have Been. I also have a one shot out that's about the same boys, but a different parallel universe that follows kind of a
Okay.
internal. There is like content warnings for suicide, ideation,
Gotcha.
and
Hmm.
basically these two boys help themselves through. But anyway, so yeah, it definitely, it helped my mental health to like sit there and write and like put myself in their mindset. It gave my creativity somewhere to go, so I didn't have any more nightmares, which was great.
Yeah,
And I've been
that's
learning a
great.
lot. I'm about to hit like 115,000 words on it. I'm
You
shocked.
are such a rock star. You are amazing. I just can't get over that. That
Thank you.
is, this is like your second in less than 6 months. That's over 100,000 words, right?
You're right. Holy crap.
Something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because
Own that.
Emma,
That is awesome.
thank you. Because Emma's story, the Abound in Bleeding Heart, is I think 128,000 words. Yeah, and that's my NaNo
Yeah,
project. So wow, you're right. Absolutely.
yeah. That's awesome. I give you such props because my first draft, which was the NaNo project, that was about it's I I've written so many like extra notes in that now that it's somewhere around 100,000, but I'm pretty sure it was about 75,000 is where I stopped, knowing that this was just the first draft and needed to lots of work and stuff. And that's about, I don't even think I've gotten to 100,000 yet, like on any of my projects. So you are amazing. That's my goal for this one. I want to reach, I want it to be 400 pages, and that's about 100,000 words, right? I feel like I know that.
Somewhere in that ballpark. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
I totally believe it. You can get there. Absolutely.
It's getting there, and like I said to you yesterday, I finally had this huge, not only did I have a breakthrough writing wise, I had awesome, went in and I edited chapters, got things done, got two new chapters up on Vela, but I also sent you that message like, I just like if we're being a pantser, I kind of plotted the next like breakthrough chapters that puts my ending together. Makes it make sense, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yep.
So do you want to talk about A Bound and Bleeding Heart then too?
Yeah, definitely. We can jump in.
Or do you have more to talk about fan fiction too? I don't want to move you on from that.
No. I think that's pretty much all. I think if I had to leave it on something, I would just say that like I kind of feel like I have adopted these characters now as my own, even though they have come from this original larger world, and that I just feel honored to be like able to tell their story. Like they clearly had more to tell, and it is coming out through me, and I am just the mouthpiece for
and
them.
I'm sure those characters, would thank you, and I'm sure you've got so many people who are like rooting for this and loving it and stuff. So they obviously thank you too for putting your heart in this and creating this story. I do have to mention, is that art piece above you, is that part of the wolf up there, or is that totally separate?
That is a wolf up there. Yes. Yep.
And did you get that done for your project as like inspiration, or?
I definitely bought that on Etsy as it was totally inspired by the fic. I actually have a wolf. I didn't wear it today because I didn't want to mess with my mic, but I also have a wolf necklace.
I love
that
it.
I ended up buying. So yes, I'm down the rabbit hole.
Right. They do. I mean, that's your connection, right? That's
Absolutely.
that's awesome. Yeah. So you want to talk about your NaNo project? Because that's like how we met. That's kind of whenever I try and do NaNo, I try and find people who are also doing it, because it is great to have a support team during that time. And stuff. So I reached out to you, found that out, and I kind of became obsessed with your story because I loved everything that you would share, and I appreciated that you would kind of share some snippets with me too. So how did that come to be?
So as a quick aside, I have never done NaNo before. And I remember being in college and like walking into the library and seeing all my creative writing friends hunched over their laptops, seriously
in the zone.
Like, what is happening? And I was kind of the opinion that I was like, I would never do NaNo. Like, that's wild. That's crazy. And then I was like, I'm doing NaNo.
You're ready. Yeah.
I'm ready. And the idea came to me. I kind of basically did 2 NaNoWriMos back to back because in, what was it, October, I wrote 56,000 words.
That's awesome.
Ballpark of this story. And like for reference, I wrote the first 14,000 words in one day. Like it's it's another one of those stories that I just feel like I was meant to tell. And the whole premise, for anyone who hasn't like seen any of my blurbs or anything like that, is it's basically take Ella Enchanted, that idea of the curse of obedience. So she like has to do any action that someone gives her, and is physically like unable to not do it. And she can resist to some extent, which is not touched on in the movie if you've seen the movie version of it. But in the book, she can resist, but eventually has to give in. And it's Ella Enchanted itself is a Cinderella retelling. So it's set in kind of a fantasy realm. And I took that and plopped it in modern day.
Gotcha.
And
that's what I thought.
The intention was for there to be like some kind of, I wasn't sure how I was going to work the fairy godmother into it, or how I was going to work the fairy that had like cursed her.
Do you use names like that in it, since you are doing like the modern? Do you use like, is it just like godmother, or is it, do you still throw in fairy in there, or totally someone new?
I'm trying to remember what I ended up doing. I think I just had it be her godmother.
Okay.
And I kind of honestly diminished her role a little bit. That's maybe something I need to look at when I do my developmental edit, make sure I bring her into it enough.
Gotcha.
Because so that was the intention. And then what actually ended up happening was I did a lot of research in Irish folklore. And for some reason, that's the one that stuck. I looked at a couple different mythologies and decided that there was going to be a portal to a fantasy realm in Ireland, that she had to get to that. And that's what it was, this thing that all of the like the Hollywood stars, which her father is a director and in Hollywood and her mom was a model, were doing with their kids. They're going to Ireland and getting them blessed by fairies, having no idea what that really meant.
Right.
And a lot of them were blessed with like, oh, you're always just going to be beautiful, or oh, you're going to be smart for the rest of your life. Well, she got like the worst possible end of the bargain.
Oh man, yeah.
And so she's like desperate to break this curse. And part of her journey is she is like falling in love with this person, and she thinks that he's really great, and then something happens, and that's kind of her catalyst for, I have to break this curse, and it's now or never. And
is there a second love interest that's the actual love interest too?
There might be.
That's awesome. We all love that. We all love the kind of, oh, is it this person? But we're not digging this person. Bring on someone. Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have a coined term for that as a community of Instagram, but I feel like there needs to be some like, I'm pulling an SJM or
yeah. Well, and I always feel like it just falls into, this is the person they're with right now, but then there's a soulmate, a true love, or whatever, like that kind of stuff. I think it just falls into that kind of a thing. Where is the actual soulmate?
Yes, which was so much fun to write, side note, while I was going through that breakup, because it was kind of almost a healing process for me, because all the things that I was giving the first love interest that wasn't going to stick around forever, I was unconsciously giving him all of my.
It was some fuel to the fire. Hey, we all do that, whether it's an ex or like, trauma from childhood, past, whatever. It kind of filters its way into your characters or the storyline. It's very like a conscious subconscious thing, because you don't want to like write some people do obviously write your story, their story. But for the most part, it's just like for me, for example, sometimes I will throw in a character in a situation and I will be like, this is very similar to something that might have happened to me, but obviously in a fantastical kind of a way. But it's like, what would the badass version of me or badass version of this awesome character I created, what would they do? How would they handle this? Yeah.
I think that's part of why writing is so healing for me, is because it does allow me to like escape reality, but also process it in a way where I'm processing it outside of myself, and then I can distance myself while I'm creating, the piece. So I'm writing something, and then as I'm writing it or as I'm reading it back, I'm going, oh my gosh, this has so many double meanings, and it's just a beautiful thing.
It is. I mean, I think writing is that way. I will always be 100% that type of person that says, whether you mean to do it, you're doing it as a therapy thing. It is very much, or if you're just doing it, it's just, say, even writers who never wanted to write before, they weren't sure what their story was, and it just starts coming out. I feel like there's something, whether it's like giving you meaning again, you know what I mean? There's something very therapeutic about getting these words out and seeing them and your characters come to life. It's
absolutely
amazing. Yeah.
And it's because you have agency and creativity and creative license over all like the world. It's such a yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
So I do want to dive in a little bit further. I love that. I didn't realize it was like, I knew there was portals in your book, and obviously you don't want to give everything away, but I want to dive further into the Irish folklore. So did you like read a bunch of books, or did you like watch YouTube videos? Like, how did that come to be?
So I have the benefit that I am part Irish, and I have been to Dublin a handful of times, and probably I always had bad luck when I visit Dublin and Ireland.
Oh,
For some reason,
gotcha.
I
Oh,
always
no.
get really motion sick, or I have a cold or something. But for some reason, the one like really positive memory I have from Dublin was I did a storytellers or mythology bus tour, where they put you in this decked out 2-story bus, and it looks like old times, and there's like a rocking chair in the corner, and there's someone, and it's almost like a little bit of miniature theater. Like they give you these stories as they drive you around Dublin, and they give you a Guinness to drink while you're on the bus.
Oh, that's awesome. Of course.
And I just remember hearing so many really cool things, and I didn't have anything like stick specifically from that, but that was kind of partly what inspired that, is that really positive association with it. And so from there, I went and kind of did a deep dive, just research wise, on the internet. And I definitely, you know, I would say I pulled inspiration from them, and then I kind of made some of them my own. So there even is like a vampire in there, and there is an Irish vampire, a Celtic vampire, that they're a little bit different. So you know, some things will look really familiar, and some things will be pure Irish mythology, and some of it will be kind of a mesh of what I needed it to be for the story. But that part was really, really fun. It slowed down my word count a little bit for the few days that I had to deep dive.
Right.
But it was great.
That's awesome. I love that. I love how it started with just like a little spark, but it was enough to kind of be like, I want to look more into this and sprinkle my own version in here. Because that's how my mind works. I mean, it could be just simply someone's telling me a story that they heard, or like mythology to me has always been just like an eye-opener, interesting, really cool. Lore of any kind just sucks me in. And some little simple story will just create, it's usually for me, it's like this little thing that might seem familiar, but then I definitely always try and put my own twist into things and stuff like that. I just think that's cool. Yeah.
Did you read the Percy Jackson series when it first was coming out?
Did I read it?
Yeah.
I have never actually read those. I've only watched the couple movies that are out with the kids. It was kind of like past my, I feel like it came out when I was in high school, maybe. I can't remember, because I went through a period where I didn't really read at all. So I didn't really start reading again, and it was Lord of the Rings that got me back in, and it was around junior, senior year. I can't remember exactly. There was a specific class. And I'm so grateful to that teacher and that class where they were just like, it was a class where you just brought whatever reading material, whether it was newspaper, magazine, whatever, but it got me back into books, because I was like, this is 45 minutes. I'm not just going to read a magazine or whatever. So I did not read those, but go on with your story now that I just went on rant.
No, not at all. I was just asked, because I think Percy Jackson was one of the, like, I hit Harry Potter, and then I discovered Percy Jackson, and then I went like down the rabbit hole of like Hunger Games and all that, because that was right when I was in high school, and like they were all coming out.
Because I did read Hunger Games,
and I think Percy Jackson might be like one of the first, maybe one of the first mainstream, like, here's mythology in a compact,
modern,
digestible, modern way. And I do have to highly recommend it, especially if your kiddos are into reading. And if they like the movies, they're going to be blown away by the books, because the movies do not do them justice.
I think we have the first two. Now, I think we've only read the first couple of chapters, kind of a thing. But I definitely know we have them, and I'm sure they will be read. They're working on the Harry Potters and stuff right now, so
very fun.
But maybe, I do homeschool the oldest one, and maybe I'll be like, we should probably read this series, Because another one I've never read was Narnia. Did you read those books?
I read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and then I think I read one or two others, but I definitely, and I'm in Prince Caspian, but I don't think I read like the whole succession.
Because isn't there's like a lot. I didn't realize,
like,
for some reason,
I
thought it was like 4 books, but isn't there like...
There's 7. They're on my shelf.
7. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so there was a lot more than I even originally thought there was. But maybe someday I'll get to those too.
I think somewhere, I'm having a vague memory from my childhood, somewhere there are like really old versions of the books that were turned to movies that were like almost word for word from the books. And I think it's like all the books, because my cousins used to watch that. And I remember being like, what is this? And then the more recent, modern day Narnia movies were released, and it was like, oh wow, this is fascinating.
Yeah. There's just so many, and all those kind of books, you're talking all those that we just mentioned, from Percy Jackson to even like Harry Potter and Narnia and Lord of the Rings. You're talking, those are like, talk about like a small spark and making completely your own world of all of that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The type of people I inspire to be like, just even if I could just have a little bit of that creativity.
Oh my gosh, no kidding.
So, also, so you said you're the Bound and Bleeding Heart. I'm saying that correctly, right? I feel like I've seen it.
Bound and Bleeding Heart, but yeah.
Okay, because you always do like the initials, and so I'm like, right, when you like talk about it. So I'm always like, am I saying it correctly? But that one, I do love that you do it like in the modern, and then bring in like fantastical lore kind of stuff. Because you could hit so many different people who love modern stuff and who love that deep lore too.
Yeah. It's definitely a good mixture of both. And I think I'll have to, in the developmental editing, I'm definitely going to have to do a little bit more to kind of weave the fantasy and the lore into the beginning of the book, because that was not my intention originally. And anyone who's done NaNo knows that you're not supposed to go back and edit while you're doing NaNo.
Forward writing. Yeah.
Forward writing. I think I'll have to maybe even just give some tiny nods or some tiny foreshadowing, even if it's just that. But that was definitely something that was not my original intention. But I do think that part will draw a lot of people in, because once they're through the portal and into the fantasy realm, it is full immersive. They are fighting for their lives. There's
that's awesome.
There's like one scene that particularly I remember like sitting on the couch sweating and like having an adrenaline rush over writing, because there's essentially the Celtic version of zombies that are like skeletons that are decomposing, and they're really creepy. And they were chasing them, and they chased them over like, classic fantasy, Emperor New Groove, like that bridge that's precarious across two ravines.
The type of bridge that all of us readers know we would never cross. We know what happened.
I hike a lot, but I have learned a lot from fantasy as well.
Yeah, right. Yep. Don't go over the rickety wooden bridges.
Absolutely. But yeah, I won't give anything away, but that, that is kind of the vibe of it, of like, they're truly modern day people who, like, one of them actually does have camping experience and some wilderness experience. So I give them that a little bit to, help make it easier. But for the most part, they're just struggling.
I like that a lot. It's such a cool premise. I love that.
Thank you.
I'm glad. I can't wait to read it.
Thank you. Hopefully I can do some developmental edits quickly and get on to beta readers. That's my goal.
Right. Yeah. So do you have kind of talk about goals, a length of time that you kind of want this all done? I know you're kind of trying to finish your fanfic first.
Yeah.
So then you can really focus.
Yes, definitely. And I have, thankfully, I think 2 more chapters left of the fanfic. although these chapters used to be like 2,000 to 4,000 words, and they're now getting up to like 7,000 to 10,000 words as we're trying to wrap things up, and
Right.
the plot's getting thicker. So I'm hoping though that I will only need another week or two on the fanfic. And then I don't know. I am also one of those people that if I set myself a deadline, I'm almost always going to miss it. So I am
Same.
kind of like, do I set myself a deadline and a goal for that and like then feel pigeonholed and obligated, or do I just want to pick it up when it feels good and try and go
Gotcha.
from there? So, you know, and I don't have an answer necessarily to that, but I am hoping it would, you know, maybe a month or two
Yeah.
is kind of a tentative goal, I would say.
Right. I like that. I mean, it is obviously when you're actually like with the publisher and all that, you do have those very strict deadlines and everything. But I know like when it comes to how my brain works, when I give myself a super, even though I am a goal, I have to have certain goals. I got to reach for them.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like a competitive thing with myself or even with someone else, you know, like I have to set those. But if I say like, I want this many chapters done at this amount of time and stuff, then I almost block myself because I will end
Yes.
up being like, I don't want to work on it. This is no longer fun. This seems dreadful, you know, putting too much weight on my plate kind of a thing, you know?
Yes. Yes. I think we have
So I like that.
exactly that in common.
Yeah. I think a lot of it's a creativity mind or creative mind set. I think a lot of us kind of have that. Obviously, when
Yeah.
you're published and you're really doing that, you do have to have deadlines. But there you right now, why not give us some ourselves like some leeway for that creativity to
Absolutely.
just open up and bloom and flow.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. I think it was Victoria Aveyard who wrote Red Queen, who was
Mhm.
like just finished up drafting something and sent it off to her, you know, editors, and she is a traditionally published author. And I remember watching her TikToks and just being like, I don't know if I could do that legitimately. Like
I
I would
know.
stress
I've watched
myself
a
out
few.
so much that I wouldn't be able to write.
Right. It does. It seems great, like because you have something to shoot for, but it also just seems so almost like overwhelming. Like,
Absolutely.
like I said, I feel like I would block myself and then the anxiety would come out. Be like, oh gosh, why did I
Yes.
procrastinate so much?
Yes. And actually, so on that train of thought, I will pick your brain about this. I don't think I mentioned it when we were chatting earlier, but do you? So I don't know a whole lot about Kindle Vella. Am I saying that
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah,
But are you're
at least I
serially
feel.
publishing on like your own consistent schedule, and then are people like commenting live on that? Are they giving you like feedback? How
So
does that part work?
it is different from like Wattpad and AO3 and like stuff like that, where comments are brand new, actually. So they
Oh,
just started, I think, last month or maybe even in April, the end of April. Um,
gotcha.
so when I first started publishing, which was just April 3rd, was when I threw my stuff up there. There was no commenting. It was just thumbs up and reads. So like you can see,
Wow.
yeah, you can see how many daily reads you get and how many of those were locked episodes, because how it works is it's a chapter by chapter kind of system that you read through. And the first 1 through 3 chapters of every story that you ever put up there are free for everybody. But then from
Gotcha.
there on, it's a token system. They have to unlock it. So, and it goes by your word count. So if you do 1,000 words for that chapter, then it's 10 tokens they would have to use to unlock that chapter. If you do,
Fascinating.
yeah, if you do like 2,000 words. So my chapters are usually 2,500 to 3,000 in that range. But when I put them on Vela, I split them in half because I don't want
Gotcha.
people to have to use all their tokens to unlock one episode, you know? So that kind of,
Gotcha.
yeah. And it's all, I mean, and Vela is also, I hope that they broaden it soon because it is becoming pretty popular and stuff. But it is only for American writers and American readers. So that's kind of that's probably the only thing I don't like about it. That's it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everything else is really great. And the community is awesome because I'm in a couple of groups just for Vela and stuff. And it's so easy to promo your stuff through there and everything. So it's just another way, like I said in a previous podcast, it is a way to just kind of get your work out there. And even if you know that it's going to need some editing still, but it's almost your step before beta or like after beta readers and stuff. You know what I mean? Put it in there.
So fascinating.
And then, because then how it works too is, say I had 30 chapters all together up there, and that was it, and my story was done. After I upload chapter 30, then you wait 30 days, and after that, you can physically publish wherever. It's yours to do what you want. So, and you can still keep it on Vela too. But after 30 days, I could have it in paperback, hardback, on Kindle Unlimited, all that stuff. So
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So interesting. So part of the reason I was curious about the comments is, you know, I was wondering if you've started to like build a community around like the people who comment regularly, or like you recognize people who consistently read, or they reach out to you.
So
because no, not yet.
I only have, it's actually my like the Monster Romance Mechanical Hearts one, Yours to Take. That one has multiple comments on the same. They love when Tempest comes in, the one that I kind of did with the pink hair, and she's the badass bestie, you know, she's like a feisty little demon, and I love her. When she comes in, a lot of people that's where people tend to comment and stuff. But it is so new, the commenting thing, that I think a lot of people who've been reading for a long time on Vela now, they don't think about the comments. I think they just kind of do their reading, do their thumbs up. It's more about follows and getting the likes and stuff.
How interesting. And it's 1 like per chapter, or like 1 like for the whole thing, for the whole entity?
So there's a all around like, there's a story like, but then each chapter is a like and a thumbs up. And then each chapter has comments. And then I don't really know how the reviews work. I think it's once you've completed it, then you can start getting reviews on them. But not until you've completed it. But I could be wrong. This is something I'm still learning. I'm not sure. Yeah.
That's so fascinating to me. Absolutely. That was something that I had to learn. Not that this is at all the same thing, but when I started getting more regular people commenting and reaching out to me in social media after I started writing the fanfic, because this fanfic is the first published thing that I have done. So this is probably the most, you know, traction my writing has gotten so far. When people started reaching out to me about it, I adore it, and I actually have a whole community of people that we talk all the time. We have a Discord going. I have friends in Australia, Germany, England, and a couple people in the US. And it's great. It's so fascinating to talk to them, because some of them are writers and some of them are also or they're just there to read. And it's one of those things that I realized recently, that I have to like mentally block myself, that when I go to sit down and write, I can't think about them when I write, because if I think about them when I write, I'm gonna like,
because they have their own kind of like input and stuff, and you're like, I gotta stick to where my story is going, kind of a thing.
Or what? That, but also like I've been teasing, there's this whole plot that I have in the back half of the fanfic that there's going to be a couple cliffhangers and some bad stuff's going to happen, but I've reassured everyone that there's going to be a happily ever after. And it's definitely one of those like, do you have to torture them that much? And so now when I get to those moments, I'm like, oh, yes.
You got to kind of like step back and you just gotta be in your zone, kind of a thing. But that's awesome. And I know that with the AO3, from the little bits that I've read from from that site and stuff, it definitely has that community feel. And I'm hoping Zella gets there eventually, and I think it will as it draws in more readers and stuff.
Absolutely.
But I just don't think it's at that level yet. I think it's mostly like the people, I know there is readers, obviously there's readers out there reading, but I think what it is it's mostly us authors who are reading other, not like
Other
read to
authors.
read, that's like no, but it's more of that's we're the ones who are out there finding it and stuff, finding these Zella stories. So that's what I mean by there is a community like within the groups. I think they're great. They're so helpful. There's so many people who are amazing, kind of just like Bookstagram and stuff, you know. They are so open. They're not like stuffy. You know how you almost get worried that like people aren't like being new. It makes, I guess maybe it's just me, but it makes me nervous to be like asked questions like how, oh, you got this many reads this month. How did you get that? How did you get that many? You know, tell me some of your tricks. They're super open about it. They want to help and have everybody be successful. So I do love the communities that I have found. The author community in Bella.
I love that. Really is author supporting authors. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. And